Hey everyone, so I'm just going to try to do a live coding session right here where I'm going to basically just try to build out an emoji pop-up, kind of similar to Discord. Like, let me show you a picture that I'm kind of going to try to build. I'm not going to spend too much time doing this. Sorry, I can't really speak right now. So in Discord, you have messages, you can click on this little emoji plus icon and it pops up this little thing, this div or whatever, and you have like emojis displayed. So let's just try to like get some type of similar functionality going and see how far we can get. I'm going to try to keep this like 30 minutes. So I have a next app here and I'm going to go ahead and just do a yarn dev on this so we can actually, actually, let me go back a level. Yarn dev. So I did an npx create next app, and that allows me to basically scaffold out a basic next application. I found this cool API over here called Open Emoji API, where if you sign up and make an account, you get an access token, and you can use that key to get basically all the emojis, right? You can also search for emojis if you want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what I can build with this. So I'm going to go ahead and take this URL here, and I'm going to see if I can at least display some emojis on the page. So on the main next page, I'm going to delete everything for right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a component called like, actually, let me keep this simple. I'm going to make like a button here, and I'm going to say open emoji dialog or whatever that thing is called. So there should be a button that shows up on that page now. If I go to this localhost, we got an open emoji dialog button. And the idea, like, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on styling, but you can kind of imagine if you clicked on this and it looked nice, you're going to pop up some type of emoji thing or show some type of pop-up. So I'm going to go ahead and add an on-click listener. And I'm going to go ahead and just set like, I'm going to pretend like we have a function called like show emoji panel. Okay. In fact, I'm going to call it toggle emoji panel. So in order to kind of do toggling, we need to do a state hook here. So I'm going to say const toggle emoji panel and set toggle emoji panel like this. Go ahead and just import that use state hook. So import use state from React. Go ahead and delete these two things up here. All right, so we could basically do something like this. I'm gonna make that toggle emoji panel, and I'm basically gonna say set toggle emoji panel to the negation of that variable there. Okay, so now we should be able to call it. And to make sure this actually works, not redeclare block scope variable toggle. Let me rename this set emoji. Again, this is a live coding, so I'm just going to be refactoring code, changing code, implementing some crappy logic, and then changing it later on. So let's just verify this works. I want to kind of verify if I have show emoji panel, then I'm going to have a div that says like hello world show up. What I'm doing right now in React, this is like really basic. This is just I have some state where I can toggle something, a Boolean true or false. And if it's true, we display hello world. Right, so I should be able to go back here and click on this and notice that hello world toggles. So if you can use your imagination, we need to actually show like an emoji panel that has a bunch of emojis in it. Okay. So going back to the image reference, again, I'm not going to spend time styling, but it looks like it has like a search bar and has like some categories here and it has all the emojis. So let's just see if we can first render out a list of all the emojis. So let's go back and we're going to pretend, instead of this div here, we're going to pretend we have a component called emoji panel. Emoji panel. Okay. And we haven't created this component yet. So we need to go to a components folder over here. And I'm going to go ahead and just make a new file called emoji panel. And I'm going to go ahead and scaffold out a basic functional React component here. So all we're doing here is just basically pretending like we have a component, or actually I guess we're creating the component right now. Let me minimize this. You don't need to see it. Refresh my save. So now, same thing, but now it's the emoji panel that's being displayed. You can also go to your React components and kind of go over this to make sure that we have the emoji panel showing up. So we have this component that we can kind of look at and verify that stuff's happening. So what I'm going to do is, I think we're done with this main index page. Like we can kind of move on. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. But on the emoji panel, what we want to do is when this panel first loads, right, when it mounts, we want to fetch these emojis from the backend API that we kind of talked about. So I'm going to add a use effect hook. This is how you can kind of have something fire off when the component mounts. You just need to make sure you give it an empty bracket here. This is your dependencies array. If this is empty, then this function will only be called once when this component mounts, okay? I don't know why my auto import like imports things from the wrong React directory, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that. But yeah, so the question is, how do we fetch emojis from this API, right? So if we go back to this open API, it gave us a URL we can kind of hit, and it has this API key in here. So I can go ahead and do a fetch request, and I'm going to go ahead and just hard code that URL there. And what we could do is fetch is a promise, or it's going to return a promise. So I'm going to do then response.json. So that's, you have to kind of call .json the kind of cast what was responded or what was returned from the backend to get the JSON equivalent. There's like some other methods too. There's like text, there's like blob, but we need JSON because this is going to return JSON. And then we want to do something with it, right? So we want to do .then. If you're familiar with promise chaining, you can keep on doing a .then onto this like builder pattern. And what we want to do is take the response we got back and we want to save it into state. Okay, so let's just go ahead and add another, let's add a state variable here called emojis and set emojis. And I'm going to go ahead and just say use state is an empty array. And if anyone knows why it keeps auto importing from this weird prod.min instead of the actual React, like let me know. I need to just go read up on the next docs. Maybe it's something simple. But basically what I need to do is when I get that response back, I need to set those emojis. Okay, so let's go back and let's go to our API. I'm sorry, let's go to our UI. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the network tab and I'm going to go ahead and verify that we got the emojis. So you notice here it did some GET requests to that endpoint here, and we got back a bunch of emojis. Hopefully there's no rate limiting on this API because we're probably going to hit this endpoint a lot. But we got back all the emojis here, right? And we want to make sure that this stuff is stored on state properly. So if you look at the emoji panel here and go to the right, you'll see that we have state here, and this has an array of like 900 emojis. I think I just crashed my UI. I should not have clicked on that. Or it's not even expanding. There you go. All right, so what we want to do is we want to basically display all these emojis on the page, okay? So you're familiar with React. The way to do that is you do a map function. I'm going to let Copilot kind of do a lot of the work for me, but we basically want to make a emoji and just display it. So I'm going to say emoji dot character, I believe it's called. Let's go back over here and look at the network tab. It's always good to inspect what's coming back from your backend and to know what's going on. So we have a character, which is the actual emoji, and then we have a Unicode name. So when you're dealing with React mapping, you have to kind of set a unique name on your key. So I'm just going to go ahead and use Unicode name. Why did I choose that? I don't know. It looks like it's unique, but maybe we'll find out that it's not that unique. We might have just been able to use character, to be honest. Let's just try that. Maybe that'll work. So I'm going to use character as the key, and then I'm going to print out that character. And then I'm also going to print out the Unicode name here. So emoji.unicode name. So what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm trying to basically just render out all these emojis inside the panel. So let's see if this works. There's a lot of emojis, but notice that they are all displaying. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So let's kind of do a little refactoring and try to make it look more like this. So it looks like there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 emojis, 9 columns of emojis, and then they kind of go down. So you could use Flexbox, you could use CSS Grid. What's the best approach? Who knows? So let's just add a style and let's just add a display of grid. And then I'm going to do, I think it's called like grid template columns. And I think there's like a way to say like repeat 1FR 9 times. I think. I might have to go Google this. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I'm going to go ahead and delete this text emoji panel. And if I got this right, we should see a grid of a bunch of emojis. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that emoji name so we don't see the names. We just want faces to show up. So if I got the CSS grid styling correctly, this should refresh. And it did not work correctly. So let's look at this. Also, there is a ton of emojis. So what I'm going to do is, because this is kind of slow, I'm actually going to limit. So I'm going to go ahead and say slice. And I just want to get the first, I don't know, 30 emojis, 40 emojis. This is a temporary hack I'm adding in, just like speed up my rendering process so they don't have like 100 emojis showing up. But what I'm trying to do is I want to do a grid system, and I want to figure out what you have to do. Okay, I think I had it backwards. You repeat 9 1FF. So let's try this and see if that helps at all. Grid template columns. Let me save this page. This should refresh and delete that inline styling I just added. Hopefully. Let me do a hard refresh just in case. All right, I have 5,000 errors on my console. So let's delete this, click open, and style property value shouldn't contain a semicolon. Try grid template columns, repeat 9 1F. Okay, I shouldn't have a semicolon there. That's what they're trying to tell me. So let's save it again and see if we can make some progress. There we go. So we got our emoji showing up. And again, this is like what we're shooting for. So we should probably limit the actual like width of the panel. So I'm going to go ahead and say width is 300 pixels. And I'm going to say height is 500 pixels. And yeah, I'm not sure why those divs are so... I might need to change this to like display inline block. I'm not sure why this stuff is so high. Wait a second. I think there might be a way to set the grid height. Or what I could do is just set the height of this. I'm gonna set the height of this to like 50 pixels. No, that didn't work. Let's just try height of 50 pixels. Again, I'm doing inline styling. Maybe this isn't the best approach, but I'm just trying to do the simplest thing possible. But I think the grid template columns, like I need to figure out CSS grid reduce row height. Right, I just want to like reduce the row height here. And now that I think about it, maybe I should have just done like flexbox or something. But they are saying I should basically do grid template rows auto 1FF. Let me try adding this auto thing. I mean, this should be something easy to do, but maybe it's not as easy as I think it was. I'm gonna try this. Grid template rows repeat. I'm just gonna say like repeat 20, and then I'm gonna say 60 pixels. Don't know if that's going to do what I want, but let's see what happens. I think it did make it a little bit smaller. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. If you have a better approach to this, let me know. But I think this looks okay. So now we got like a little panel here, and we could probably change the background color of it and like add some padding. I'll do like padding of 10 pixels, background color of, I don't know what color that is. Anyway, we're not trying to style this too much. But the idea is we also could have a search bar up here, and you could kind of search through these emojis to find the ones that you want. So let's just do that real quick. So inside of this thing, this panel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a fragment. I could have just done a div too. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to do a fragment though. And then I'm going to add, actually, no, I'm sorry. Let me not do that. I'm actually going to wrap this stuff in a div, and we want to style it a little bit. Let's do that. And then this div needs to have some styling of its own. So I'm going to go ahead and put this grid stuff all needs to be put into here. And then this one, I'm going to put an input box like this. So the input box, I'm basically going to want to be able to search in here and like filter through my emojis. And we could also add some padding to this. So let's just add styling. Actually, I'm going to say margin bottom of 20 pixels. Okay, let's just push that down some. Okay, maybe 10 was better. But the idea of this input box is I want to be able to kind of type into this input and filter down the emojis to find ones that match the thing I'm looking for, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add a state variable here so we can kind of track what the user's typed in. I'm going to say const search and set search. And then I want to keep track of what the user has tried to search for. So on the input, I'm going to say on change, and we are going to call a function. I'm going to say e, and then I'm going to say set search e.target.value. This is how you do it in React, how you can take the actual, the input of the user and put it in the state. So now as I type, that should be kind of doing some stuff. And what we want to do is as the user types, we're going to filter those emojis. So I'm going to make a new function up here called get filtered emojis. And let's just go ahead and say, yeah, return emojis.filter. And then we want to get where the name, actually, I think it's called like a Unicode name. Let me go over here. I think it's called Unicode name. And then I'm going to say includes, yeah, this looks like Copilot gave us something good. So just kind of include, find any name that kind of matches what you had. But also, I think this is going to filter out nothing. So I'm going to say if, I'll just add a little hack here. I'm going to say if search is equal to empty array, then just return all the emojis. Slice, I'm going to limit it to 50 because at some point you can add like lazy loading to make it more performant and stuff, but I'm just going to limit it to 50. All right, so hopefully this works. So now what we can do is go back to our UI, and I'm going to type in smile. And we got back everything that matched smile maybe. I don't know if that actually worked pretty good. Let's type dog. There is some errors happening, so let's look at our console. There's stuff with the same key. So I don't know, maybe we should use a different one here, like down at the map where we did key. Maybe I should try a Unicode name. I'm not sure why this is not working. So when I type, let's just make sure that when I type, the state of this component is in fact getting updated. So I'm going to go ahead and just search over this whole component here, emoji panel. Let me do a hard refresh. I'm not sure if something wrong is going on. So open the panel, we get our emojis. We're going to click on this panel and we're going to look. We'll type in DOG for dog, and we got back some dogs. Okay, so what a happy, no, smile, face, grin. All right, cool. So you notice that when I type, it's a little slow. I watched a web dev simplified video, and what I can actually do is I believe I could do some type of set transition. You know, I don't really have much experience with it as well. I think this is more of a... I'd have to figure out where the slowdown is happening, honestly. But, I mean, it's kind of working pretty good. We're not doing any type of network request when we type this. But now you can actually like search for emojis. I think the issue is every time you type a character, it's kind of re-rendering the entire component. So you might have to do some type of debounce on this, honestly, or do some caching. I need to look more into it, but I don't have much time with this video left to kind of speed that up. So that's kind of how you can do an emoji panel. And then if you want to, like, when you click on these emojis, have those emojis displayed somewhere, we could try to do that. So that'd be the last thing I do in this video because I'm running out of time. So let's just go ahead and pretend like at the higher level, we're going to display selected emojis here. So let's just make another state variable called selected emojis, set selected emojis. That's going to be use state, and that's going to be empty string. So I'm just going to make this be, I'm going to pass in a property called on emoji clicked. And we're going to do something really simple here. We're just going to basically append the emoji that the user is selected. We're going to basically do this. So basically set the selected emoji plus that. Does that make sense? So take the current state and just add the emoji to it. And then we're going to display that somewhere. So let's just go down here and just display the selected emojis. Now the emoji panel doesn't take this prop yet. So let's just go ahead and dive down into that and make sure we pass that in to allow us to use it. And whenever a user clicks on an emoji, which I believe happens at the map. So look for the map and then look for this. So I'm going to say on click. I'm going to call this function and I'm going to pass in the emoji.character. Okay, so now at the higher level component, the parent component, we're telling which emoji was actually clicked with the mouse, and then the parent component is going to display that. So if I did this correctly, as you click on these different emojis, we should see them pop up. Sorry, the height of this div is super high, so let's just go ahead and change that height a little bit by like 300. I'm going to say scroll is auto. Even that's too high. Let's do height of 200. Hoping you get like a scroll bar. Overflow hidden. Or overflow scroll maybe? There we go. We got a scroll bar. I don't know why the height is so high. It's kind of strange. Okay, see how big that is? That's really weird. But anyway, as you click on these different emojis, they're just going to be basically put onto the div down here. You can imagine if you're using Discord, like this would be placed into your text area so that you can just append those emojis. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I wanted to show in this video. I mean, there's some performance things we could do. There's some styling things we could do. But overall, I just wanted to show how you can connect to an API, get some emojis back, display those, and then add a filter where you can kind of filter down for the ones that you want. I do want to figure out why this takes so long to like search through them, but we can leave that for another day. I mean, it's not too slow, but it's still slow enough where it's like noticeable. You could probably add like a debounce to this so that when they're kind of done typing, that's when you filter down the list. React is really slow at like rendering out big lists. That's one thing I've noticed about React. So you know, more stuff has to be done to figure that out. Anyway, if you enjoyed watching this, give me a thumbs up. Also, join my Discord if you want to talk to me or ask me questions directly. I'm usually pretty responsive. And we got a lot of people in that Discord who, you know, enjoy learning how to code and talking about code. Anyway, have a good day and happy coding.